When you trust Ferguson Roof Systems to replace your roof, we go the extra mile to protect your home and property. On every job, we deploy durable netting to protect your home's exterior and landscaping. It's just one more reason why you should call Ferguson Roof Systems today.
Hey everybody, Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here with you. It is 9:40. It's almost 10 o'clock, so it's time for your weather update as we are talking about potential for some severe weather back across Oklahoma. So thanks for joining me. If you missed my lunchtime live today from the vehicle, we talked old school and mentioned the fact we have a little bit of situation. We're going to get a lot of heavy rain. What was that say? What did that say? The man, the myth, the legend. What's up, Steven? Good to see you. Amber's in the house from Anadarko. Ginger's in the house. Zach says, bring on the rain. You gotta be careful, man. You be careful what you ask for. Charles is throwing lots of stars. Those are Chinese stars, it looks like to me. I think I told you this once before. When I was a kid, we used to have like Chinese star fights. Which probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world. Ron sent me some stars, not on Facebook. Thank you very much. You guys out there on Rumble, thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to that platform continuing to develop. It's getting better. They've made some new changes. A lot more interactivity is becoming available now with active chats and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to that expanding. David, by the way, thank you for the stars on Facebook. Aaron's and Shawnee. She goes, send me the hail. She must want a new roof. Guys on YouTube, thanks for checking in. Let me see if Jim is there. Hold on. Let me stop. Everybody stop the presses. There you are, Jim from Mustang. So good to see you, brother. All right, let's go. You guys on Twitter also, thanks for tuning in. Okay, so all the formalities out of the way. Get on Facebook, click that link I just posted in case you're getting late notified. That way you're not late to the party. Jared in the house, 50 stars, and Tabitha as well. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your support tonight. All right, well, we do have severe weather, so let's get on with the program, shall we? That's the one thing we want to talk about here for tonight. You've noticed a little change in the air. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Ashley, for my Tempest weather station, which you can get one as well. You can get one just like me. And yes, mine's on a pole and it's on the fence. And I've had it two places. I had it on the roof, and then I had it more technically correct way of sighting it, which is about 9 feet off the ground on the fence line. So the winds will be a little lighter because I put it down lower, so you have a lot of friction and blockage, from neighborhood obstacles such as homes and fences and that kind of deal. So you do suffer a little bit on the wind speeds, just a hair, but the temperature is a lot more accurate. So I was kind of like, which one do I want to do? So I've tried it both ways. I've got another weather sensor with the winds on the roof, so I just use that for the wind, so I'm good with that. Otherwise, you can get a cheaper discount if you hit the promo code there on the right with your phone at any time during the broadcast or after the fact if you're watching the replay. Rami, thank you for, again, your support. Same thing, Joseph and Jared. He's wanting to know if we're going to get some of the weather down there in Dallas today. Patrick, thank you for the stars as well. So appreciate you guys. I know for a while there, Facebook kind of turned off the whole stars thing. It was a glitch in the Matrix. As you know, there's lots of glitches in the Matrix these days. There was a glitch today from the Fed in the Matrix. Glitch in the banks. There's a glitch everywhere. There's probably been a glitch on this broadcast here in a minute. But as you look at the flood watch, it's in effect. It's in the green area, by the way. So flash flood watch means that we will have conditions that will be deteriorating in the 24-hour window, which can lead to some flash flooding. And believe it or not, flash flooding does cause more deaths than the other weather-related events. I know the tornadoes get a lot of attention, big, huge hail gets some attention, damaging winds. Yes, all that is true, but the flooding does do that in excessive amounts here across Oklahoma and onto Missouri, and Arkansas is where the threat is for tomorrow. So here's a look at the threat here outlined from the National Weather Service, where they are talking about the hail potential. So it's in the the yellow shading here is where most of the hail will fall. If we do take a look kind of at some other risks that we're talking about for tomorrow, the tornado risk, for example, that is on the very low side. And earlier at lunchtime, we talked about it could be up here along the I-44 corridor. Depends on where the cold front is. Now, it looks like in the latest data, the cold front is going to be down here, back in this area, which is where I outlined it on Sunday across the southern third of the state. So that, in theory, is where your better tornado potential will be. We'll discuss that here in a minute. Thank you, by the way, Kim, for the stars. Appreciate you. Let's see. Let's take a look at the severe weather risk in general. Hail can be up to baseball, although I got to caution you. I keep seeing all these excessive hail sizes, and the data does not support that. I'm just saying the data looks more like 2 inches in diameter. 2 inches is not baseballs; it's more like an egg. So eggs falling from the sky, I got with. But as far as anything widespread, it's bigger than that. No, maybe an isolated storm that gets a little out of control. Sure, like I can see that. But for the most part, no one's going to see widespread baseballs. So that's good. Wind speeds are typical for severe weather. In the data, there's not a whole lot that represents up around 80, more like 60. Typical standard stuff. Nothing that is overly excessive. We do talk about the rain though, and that does indicate a flash flood risk, and that really extends back out here. So if I were to redraw this graphic for you, I would include it something like this, and we'll show you as the data as to why that is here in a minute. All right, so let's look at the central and western Oklahoma area. For eastern Oklahoma, same idea, hail up to about golf ball size. So there you go. That's more representative, I think, of what the atmosphere will have for you. 60 to 70, tornado potential low, or they call it very low. But the flash flood watch remains in effect there for the greater Tulsa area. So kind of keep that in mind. All right, so in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we have what we call a southwest flow aloft, which means the jet stream goes from southwest to northeast. And there's some energy out here to the west, but not quite over Oklahoma. So we don't quite have like brute forcing to get this stuff going. We have a front, some humidity, and some lower level forcing along that boundary, which I'll show you here in the red areas. This is around 700 millibars. So we go through time. I want to show you how you kind of get the paint colored in red, which means general overall lift. Thank you, Angela. Across the areas you head into the morning hours, and you can see anywhere you see this color of red and orange on the map indicates we're going to have lift to create clouds, showers, and maybe, yes, some thunderstorms. And that's in the morning hours. You can see how it sticks with us all day long. So it doesn't really end. There's a nice little stronger batch for the later afternoon and evening hours that kind of focuses from central to northeast Oklahoma. That's important. And another big area back out here to the west, but that's because that's where the main upper system is kicking through, which makes more sense. This will be along kind of an elevated surface boundary in this region, so that's why that lift is higher. But again, this is a focus for the rain we'll look at here in a second. And then finally, a last minute wave of storms should get kicked off out here as this energy comes in from western Oklahoma through the midnight hours here into central Oklahoma. And that should be like the final big wave of rain, but there'll still be some residual showers and storms that go on overnight into early tomorrow morning, especially down there in North Texas. And with low level jet, everything that happens, and how things decouple, etc. And as the system comes through, so a lot more processes still continue to go into Friday morning. So we'll probably still see these thunderstorms develop here and across southern and southeastern Oklahoma, moving into Arkansas. So it's going to be a rainy period coming up. And again, that is why the flash flood watch is in effect. Again, this strong lift for Friday afternoon. So if you guys are wondering out there in Arkansas, what's our weather look like besides the threat for tomorrow? You're looking at more storms for Friday. So you get a 1-2 punch here. You're going to have some severe weather to deal with there. Probably pretty nasty squall line with a lot of straight line winds, pockets of hail. You might get kind of what we call a QLCS type tornado, but otherwise that's the latest with that one. All right, so the deal is we talked about where the position of the cold front is for your tornado threat. All right, well, let's take a look at here at time. This is the dew point map, and look how these numbers come crashing. Look how these, again, where you see this blue, that's dew point values in the 60s. But if you look at those winds up to the north, come crashing right here in Oklahoma City at noon. So by noon, our cold front is already racing through Tulsa and Oklahoma City back out here to southwest Oklahoma. So this changes the atmosphere. It's colder, slightly drier. I don't get too crazy. But some drier air does mix in behind it. So you will see those dew point values drop from the 60s into the 50s along the boundary. Now way up here, yeah, dry air, man. Dew point values in the 30s. So that is the big significance up here, which is why northwest Oklahoma doesn't get a whole lot of rain with this event. You get too much dry air too soon, whereas all the good stuff is along I-44 and points to the south. Okay, that's midday. In the afternoon, as we go into the 3 and 4 o'clock hour, you can see how the cold front kind of now lines up from around Muskogee, just north of Fort Smith through Muskogee, probably back around Paoli, Pauls Valley, kind of an area, and then back down here into southwest Oklahoma. So that means there is no tornado threat tomorrow afternoon across this part of the state. So as long as this front does what the model suggests, and it does come down southward, the tornado threat is going to be along this, get this picture here, get this color, along this zone here. That would be the most favorable. In other words, if we can get a couple of these little storms that rotate a ride along the boundary, that can help produce that a low risk of a cell that develops in this area that could produce a tornado as well. But again, the odds are very, very low. They're not very favorable. More likely hail and pockets of wind, but also some heavy rainfall. So that's kind of how the surface pattern looks when it comes to humidity. When you factor in what heat there will be, Cape values down here will be into the 1 to 2,000 range. So if you look down here, I'll pick the best spot on the map, kind of close to the Ardmore area, just to show you what potentially can happen down there. And the possible hazard type is for a tornado. It's a little messy photograph, and winds down here are actually fairly weak and the lowest few hundred to 1,000 feet off the ground. And that's usually a limiting factor when it comes to tornadoes. So I put that in my blog on Sunday. A lot of times you guys won't see my blog posted on Facebook because Facebook is a turd. And as you know, what turds do, they do turdy things. And so sometimes it doesn't show you when I post my blog on Sundays. So you'll have to just remember to go check it out. It's on my website, AaronTuttleWeather.com. Otherwise, I post those pretty much every Sunday afternoon, sometimes Sunday evening. Thank you, Casey. Just depends on how busy I am over the weekend, right? Because I got things to do just like you guys do. I'm multitasking. All right, we look at the models for the what we call the helicity, or the words that spin in the thunderstorm. So we can track these. This is where you'll find the strongest part of the storm, which can either be hail, damaging winds, or sometimes a tornado. So you can see there are a few tracks here across Texas and into Oklahoma, even across southwestern Missouri, with this particular model here. If I pick another model, it looks like this, not nearly as exciting. Pick one here, it looks kind of like this, kind of a blend of the two. It really likes this really long hail track overnight, at around midnight or so tomorrow night. So we'll have some late night thunderstorms. This is a close-up view of that same map, just kind of showing you this nice little track here. Now, will it be exactly there? Probably not. But what it's trying to do probably is pick where the frontal boundary is, and then that's what's kind of generating that. We do look at the hail size probability. If I look at this graphic here from the tech model, you see these little blue areas. If you struggle, you can see some green mixed in here. Now, this is late. This is overnight to Friday morning. And the green scale is up to about golf ball size to maybe the hen egg 2-inch diameter. So otherwise, and another model looked at was very similar in the hail size probabilities, just kind of scattered about. So you can get hail here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, just so you know, anywhere from there down south. If you do look, and that kind of goes with, let's see, this map here. This kind of quadrant. See how it kind of bounds up against I-44 and then points down to the southwest toward Lawton. So in this zone, anywhere in here is favorable for hail, and that's what these little tracks indicate. All right, so I didn't point that out earlier, so I'm pointing that out now. All right, let's go to what can potentially be the simulated output of the radar, what it may actually occur tomorrow. In other words, models always do their best guess as to saying how will the atmosphere, respond given the parameters that I just showed you. Right now at 5 o'clock, heavy thunderstorms stretching all the way from southwest Missouri through Tulsa into Oklahoma City. Now, if you do back this up, it does start earlier on. Like here's noon, so they're already a sign they'll be getting some showers and possibly some thunderstorm development around lunchtime. And then that just kind of continues to build with time as we go in through the afternoon. So if you live, again, northwest Oklahoma, far western Oklahoma, you're good for tomorrow afternoon. If you live central, southern, eastern, scattered showers and thunderstorms is in your future, in your crystal ball. As we go to the 8, 9 o'clock hour, some more heavy thunderstorms in that area. Some new development kind of comes back through that same region, and then the whole mess kicks through into early Friday morning. Here's Friday lunchtime still going across eastern Oklahoma. There's 1 o'clock, finally comes to an end. And the models are actually indicating we might get some, as the upper level low comes across, we might get what we call cold core like hailers. In other words, some small hail, otherwise brief heavy rain or some lightning with some cold core thunderstorms that may come across on Friday afternoon, which is a different output than what we've seen before in the data. So that does happen, but usually that's a summertime phenomenon. But hey, whatever. It's March, so we'll deal with it. All right, we do look at the, I'm just curious about what our experimental model is doing. In other words, this is where all models are supposed to be developing toward in the physics and the parameters of what they're developing, the guys that are kind of developing all the code. It likes this afternoon cluster of storms here across the same area we talked about here in central Oklahoma and stretching up to the north and east. That is the 4 or 5 o'clock hour, and you see how that kind of continues through. There's 7 o'clock, so it's still going strong. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So again, there's midnight. There's in the overnight hours, still more thunderstorms to move through. Just keeps on raining. Now, at some point in this day, there's got to be a little bit of convective feedback issues. That's just my guess, because all models have them. And this is a brand new model that came out that we're just now using this year. So there's not a whole lot of data to go with it to see how well it does, what its biases or weaknesses are. But let's just assume that it is on the money. Let's assume we're going to get that much rain over and over and over. What does that look like in the rainfall bucket? So let me, I can't make this one bigger, so we'll just do this. So scale at the bottom. All right, see that right there? So this is in the red is where you have 3 inches of rain. When you get to the orange over here, it's between 5 and 7. So if you look back on our map, remember 3 is red. There's a lot of 3 on there. And around the I-44 corridor. Now this happens to place it just on the south end of Oklahoma City, down toward Norman, Moore, Goldsby, Newcastle, Blanchard, back out to Chickasha. There's a little hot spot of orange. That's 7 inches, for example, in Chickasha. And then up around looks like Shawnee, and then back up here to Tulsa, southern Tulsa County, 5 to 6 inches. That extends into southwest Missouri. So what the point is, the take home, is that in this area, and it won't be the exact placement, but there's going to be some flash flooding. If you get 5 to 7 inches of rainfall, that is way too much. If we look at some of the other model output, here's one that kind of jives with that. It's got a similar physics scheme, so it doesn't surprise me as to why. But here's 6 inches there on this particular model plot, up to 5 up here in southwest Missouri, and close to 7. Don't see any of those numbers, but 5 to 6 inches, man. Yeah, you're going to get some flash flooding in that case. But each model, and I'll show you some other ones here, will have a slightly different position. So here's a global model. It's got it kind of south and east. Here's another global model. It doesn't have much of an event at all. Here's one that's got more south into southern Oklahoma, closer to the surface frontal boundary. Here's one that just says, oh, it's just a brief little shower, no big deal tomorrow. Here's one that says you'll have hit and miss thunderstorms, otherwise not that big of a deal. This is a blend of all of them, which has a lower end number. It's very conservative. Another global model, 2 to 3 inches. So take home, if you've noticed, between all of these was your best rain amounts are going to be kind of in this quadrant of the state, with peak of some nonsense somewhere probably in this vicinity here, where you're going to get your peak values that can be up around 6 inches of rain. All right, temperature wise, tomorrow. Now obviously today was a great day. Didn't have to use my AK. But if we go to the morning hours, you will see a big rush of cooler air coming in from Kansas in the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hour, and that's where that kind of starts to hit the Oklahoma City metro area. So we don't get to warm up at all tomorrow as a result of the cold air arriving early. It stays cloudy, stays rainy, so we'll stay in the 60s across this area. Now, as far as the temperatures go, it's not a huge change, but to go in the 60s tomorrow versus down here in southern Oklahoma, we're to be close to 80. That's pretty significant. So again, that's where your 70s and your 80 will be. Down along the Red River into far southern Oklahoma, where you have more of your heat, which means more of your instability. And with that boundary in place, more of an opportunity for a little bit higher end of severe weather in that region. All right, so that's everything in a nutshell, temperature-wise. Again, the 73, that's an overnight, early morning period. We won't be that for most of the day. We'll be right around here for Oklahoma City. And then obviously a little cooler as we head into the Friday, Saturday, Sunday time period. Look for a freeze or frost across some areas of the state for Monday and Tuesday. Some of the earlier data indicated maybe the early part of April we might get another frost across parts of the state. So just hang in there when it comes to planting. I mentioned that in my blog as well. You want to hold off until April when it comes to planting those sensitive flowers, and then also have a means to cover them up, because this time of the year will probably, this pattern will probably give us a late freeze or late frost in April. So you're going to need to be able to do that. Mary, thank you for the stars. I appreciate that. Roger, thank you as well. Always appreciate you guys' support in many fashions. Brigitta, I see ya. Brigitta, I'm always butchering your name. You have to tell me so I don't butcher it. Every time I go to say it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it wrong. But anyway, so DM me. Send me a message. Spell it out for me. Let's see. That is everything I want to tell you. So if you're late and you're saying, just give me the Coles Notes, as Jody would say. And I would say, what? Coles Notes? What you talking about, woman? She's Coles Notes, the short version. I said, you mean Cliff Notes? She says, no, Coles Notes. I said, who's Cole? I said, we're Cliff, man. So what happened is Coles and the Cliff were brothers. Cliff Notes did the American version, and Coles did the Canadian version. So there's your little history on Coles Notes and Cliff Notes. So I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. She can go up north if she wants the Coles Notes. But bottom line is we've got a nice long window of thunderstorms from right around Lunchtime tomorrow, that'll last through Friday morning across most of central, southern, eastern Oklahoma. Off and on rain the whole time. We will have some flash flooding. Again, that's the danger part. Turn around, don't drown. Roadways could be washed out. You could be near a creek or a river, especially if you're not familiar with the area. Let's see. Going to have some hail with the event. And a potential for a weak tornado or so down across the southern third of the state where you have the cold front boundary. They could ride along if that were to happen. So that's a low probability. Not a zero probability, but a low one. And that's it. So this isn't a huge severe weather event like you would normally hear hype for days on end, right? It's not one of those types. You can call it a sleeper event, whereas it's just, man, you serious? How much rain can we have? And some of you will get just enough rain to be happy, and others of you are going to be like way too much. And there's no, happy place in between. It's all extremes. Jeff, thank you for the stars also. So that was what I have for you. So tomorrow, I was going to do a live for you around lunchtime. I might still be able to. It might be a little late. Tied up through the early part of lunch, so maybe 12:30 if I'm able to do it. And then if I can't, then I'll watch trends for the afternoon. If it looks like we're going to have a tornado warning, sometime late afternoon, I'll probably try to come on and cover that one. Otherwise, make sure you get my weather app. Is free. AT's Weather to Go, Apple, Google Play. And for you Android users, and you said, man, my app hasn't been loading lately. It has this thing that I don't have no Wi-Fi, no internet. Well, that was a bug that I fixed as of today. It's been released in the Play Store. So if you go to Google Play Store, you can download the new version if you don't want to wait for it to get pushed to your phone, depending on how often that happens. So that way, if you're having trouble opening it, it doesn't affect everybody, just a few people. But it is what it is. So Google always requiring code changes, and sometimes those code changes don't play nice on all devices. So got that fixed. So if you're one of those, download it. If you're not one of those, you're not affected, but you can still download the new version. That's what it dealt with. But that'll take care of you there. And of course, you Apple users, you guys are good. No problems on your end of things. So make sure you like and share this video. Tell your friends and family about AT's weather, and get ready. Our severe weather season is here. So I will tell you a little inside info. I watched a presentation from a meteorologist who does a lot of global stuff for a company. And they do a lot of studying of the patterns when it comes to El Nino, La Nina, the Northern Oscillation patterns, all kinds of stuff, all global teleconnection stuff. And this kind of stuff, this is what corporations will pay money for because it might give them this much of an edge, or an industry, like an energy industry, for the weather, just to say, hey, if it's 51/49, that's a win for us. Kind of a deal. But anyway, all that said and done is, the thought is, historically speaking, when we come out of a La Nina, which is what we're doing, and we go into an El Nino, which is what's happening currently, there is a transition period between the two. And it's not like one is like really high and then drops, and then the other one just immediately picks up in its place and it's super high. They do a decline and then a slow ramp up. So there's kind of a lull in between. Historically, in that lull in between, the way it's playing out here for April, it should mean a more active severe weather event time period for Oklahoma and the rest of the Southern Plains area. So if you take that and extrapolate to what does that mean, it should mean more severe storms. It should mean probably higher than normal output of tornadoes for April. Hail and wind. So that's what it should mean. Now, does it always play nice? We'll see. Remember, it's a climatological average going back. So there's always going to be outlier events. There's always going to be things that, wasn't prevalent in the first year that is in the second. So, for example, we have still some late cold air intrusions because of the other parts of the patterns keeping winter hanging on a little longer. And that can suppress a lot of the instability and keep it down into Texas, or maybe even if you had a really big cold front, shove it down back into the Gulf. And that might not have been present in other analog type year comparisons. So keep that in mind. But in theory, as far as big patterns go, we should have a more active April, and then things get back to normal for May and June. So they're not what I thought they would be. I thought that they would continue to be a little elevated, and turns out with that strengthening El Nino, it would tend to shut down the severe weather aspect as we head into May and June. So we'll see what happens. This stuff's, man, you want to talk about a dartboard and a crystal ball, you're getting into the fun stuff of weather guessing when you're doing that. So we can get to 5 days, 7 days pretty good. 24 hours, that kind of stuff, no problem. But when you're trying to go months or even a season at a time, is a lot of guesswork and a lot of falling on your face. That's, like I said before, I think AI is going to be a big gap filler for that. And of course, research still always unveils new little nuggets that we find later on. So I think in my profession here, before I pass on the torch of this planet to the younger generation, I do believe I will see some incredible forecasting ability coming out of the models and the AI stuff over the next 20 years. So I might have to wait that long, but hey, it'll be there. And then there won't be any need for me anyway. So when I pass the torch, I'll pass it to a computer. All right, Leslie, thank you for the stars. You too, Tiffany. I'm out of here. You guys be careful tonight and tomorrow. If I don't hear from you, if you can't check in, you now know the deal. I'll update you if I can at lunchtime. Otherwise, if there's any tornadoes, I'll talk about those. But otherwise, keep my weather app with you, and then it'll keep you out of harm's way. It'll alert you if there's anything coming in your vicinity. Again, Apple, Google Play. Just search for AT's Weather to Go. You can download that tonight. And I think that was all. So appreciate you guys' loyalty and your patronage and joining the Facebook fan subscription, Subscribe Star, YouTube, Super Chat, all that kind of stuff. Everything you want to do to support me as a content creator, I am very much appreciative. So I will be around. Guys, we'll talk to you later. Have a good night. See ya.